In James Hollis's book, A Life of Meaning, he says that the biggest task of the second half of life is the recovery of personal authority. So how do we lose personal authority and therefore have the need to regain it in the first place? When we are born, we are helpless for a long period of time, as opposed to other animals that are able to gain independence shortly after birth. And so the way that we are able to stay alive is that we employ a certain survival adaptation, whereby we look to our parents, our families, our caregivers, and society at large. And we basically soak up all of this information from social cues, from reading facial expressions, from being scolded. All of the things that are inputs in this first part of life is for us to basically learn what is considered acceptable. And this is for the sole purpose of being protected, being fed, cared for, until we are able to make it on our own. The problem arises, however, when by the second half of our lives, we never come to realize that there is a need to cut the ties, because if we are unable to do this, we will remain in a state of perpetual infancy. This phenomenon is compounded by the fact that we in the West, in our attempt to throw out what we think of as superstition, we throw out our traditions and with it rites of passage that basically alert us to when it's time to make certain types of shifts in our psyche in order to grow up and mature. What I'm going to suggest is that there is therefore a need for a self-imposed rite of passage. This self-imposed rite of passage that I'm going to suggest is the leaving behind of 9-to-5 employment in favor of entrepreneurship. Let me explain. You see, when we work for another person, we are basically giving up our authority to the boss, to the employer. We look to them to feed us, to clothe us, to tell us what to do and when to do it. When we are able to leave behind that 9-to-5 and become an entrepreneur, what we are basically doing is forcing ourselves into a situation where we have no other choice but to become the decision maker, the breadwinner, the person that comes up with the strategies, the one that defines our offering to the world based upon our own proclivities, talents, and gifts. And so there's a need for us to find what those are, to dig deeper within ourselves, to bring that up. You see, when we're working for someone else, we don't have to actually dig deep enough to really find out what it is that we can offer the world, because what we do is dictated by the authority figure in our life, which is our boss. At the end of the day, no one's going to come knocking on your door at midlife and tell you it's now time to regain your personal authority. And so therefore, because of the fact that society is aligned with you staying dependent on the authority figures that it has set up to take advantage of you, if you are interested in your own personal growth, then you must impose this rite of passage upon yourself.